Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvabhignopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham karishyami siddhir me sada yenakshara samamnayam adhigamya maheshwarat kritsnam vyakaranam proktam tasmai paninaye namaha Vakyakaram Vararuchim Bhashyakaram Patanjalim Panidhim Sutrakarancha Pranatosmi Munitrayam Vagartha Vivasam Prikto Vagartha Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om Namaste. So, let me share. So we'll come back to this trip dhatu. So hopefully this was a little bit more familiar. As we're doing our homework, it's becoming a little bit easier. Hopefully that's happening. Hopefully that's our experience. It looks like it. From some people sent me their homework. It looks really good. So that's really exciting. So just to remind us of our thing pratyas in present tense, so we can chant this together, as it were. Ti, taha, anti, si, taha, tha, mi, vaha, maha. Okay, so hopefully that comes more familiar, that order. Without looking, you can get it and you can see it. Without seeing it, you can get that whole order. So basically, what we're doing, so again, just as this is our everyday sadhana, every class we do the sadhana of getting us our location, right? So we always start with a vakyam, sentence. Vakyam is made up of padani, so you can say this along with me. Padani, there's two types, tingantam and subantam. Tingantam is made up of two things, dhatuhu and ting pratyaha. Subantam is made up of pratipadikam and sup pratyaya. Okay, now further we've gone a little bit and we've talked about a tingantam. So the dhatu, now if we go in specifically into the dhatu, there's more differentiation. So dhatu, within dhatu, there's 10 groups, first gana to 10th gana, and there's 3 types, P, A, U. So we can write that in a second. But let's just come back to our warm-up. So in our warm-up, we're doing trip dhatu. So I'm not going to write it down just for time's sake, but we can do it, say it together, right? So first thing we notice that in the dhatu, it says trip for P, meaning to please. It says there's a letter V there. Don't worry about what V means. V is not really relevant to us for some time. So trip for P, meaning to please. Now I see that number 4. That 4 tells me it's 4th gana. So the anga is going to include a yakara. So it's going to be tripya. Tripya. So we had a yakara and that akara at the end, right? So it's tripya. Tripya is our anga. So our so if we do our conjugations, we get tripyati, tripyataha, tripyanti, tripyasi, tripyataha, tripyatha, then tripyami, tripyavaha, tripyamaha. Right? So hopefully you can close your eyes and you can take any anga and you can get, if not, don't worry. You're still Brahman. Okay. So we'll continue. So that dhatu trip wasn't in our book. I just went and I found another 4P, which was there in the dictionary. Okay, so as we were talking about, right? A tingantam is made up of dhatu plus ting pratyaya. And then within a dhatu, there's a few classifications. So let's see if I can write. Okay, so there's 10 groups of conjugations. First gana, so the first group to the 10th gana. And there's 3 types, P, A, and U. So this is what we're going to continue talking about, that there's 10 groups of, so within a dhatu, there's 10 ways of dividing them into 10 groups, and there's 3 types, P, A, or U. Now I'll tell you what page we're on. We're going to switch, so that's why I'm not telling you yet. Where we're at is we're going to be talking about 4th gana dhatus. Okay, so this is page, oh, sorry. We're talking about 6 gana dhatus, but this is page 34, page 34. Page 34 in your book. You'll see 4th at the top and then 6th. Okay, so now, just as a note, we know the reason that there's 10 groups is when a dhatu gets added to a, ting pratyaya, I'm just going to make that short. So when a dhatu plus a ting pratyaya, this dhatu gets the status of anga. Now, when that happens, some transformation takes place, right? When dhatu marries ting pratyaya, some transformation takes place. For example, trip becomes tripya. Now, there's 10 ways of transformation. 10 types of modification take place. Based on what type of modification takes place, based on what type of change takes place, it's in one of the 10 groups. Okay, so knowing that with our background, we know that 4th gana, we add a yakara, right? We see this at the top. We add a yakara to the 4th gana dhatus. So that type, when it goes from dhatu to anga, that transformation takes place, we add a yakara. Okay, now moving on, so to our new material, we're going to look at 6th gana dhatus. So this is page 34 again, bottom of page 34. You'll see this chart there. Now, you can see that at the top it says anga does not take guna, and an additional suffix a is suffix for dhatus. So this is the main thing here, that we're adding it a. Okay. So when the dhatu becomes an anga, we add a simple a at the end. Okay. Now let's skip this first one. Let's look at the second one. We see dish, and we add akara, it becomes disha. Okay. Some of these don't follow the rule and they add some, there are some changes, but prach becomes pricha. Some of these, let's look at this one. Sprish becomes sprisha. We're just adding an akara. Lik becomes likha. Okay, notice that this doesn't have an akara. There's the virama at the end, and then it has an akara here. Okay, when we go from here to here, we're adding an akara. when we go from here to here, we're adding an akara. So vish to visha, strij to strija. Now notice there's some ones that aren't so straightforward. So the first one, ish becomes itcha. Now that's basically just how it is. Some of these don't follow the rule and they're still put in sixth gana. So that's just, we just gotta accept that as prasad. We just eat it with gratitude. Okay, so ish becomes itcha. Much becomes muncha. So notice some of these are a little bit different. Vid becomes vinda. Okay, so notice some of these meaning, right? Itcha, ish becomes wish. It's a wish. So that's the same in Hindi, Gujarati, right? Ish, that same dhatu is there. To wish, to desire something. Dish means to show. That's why I like the direction, disha, right? To show. Prach, to ask. Much, to set free. That's where the word moksha comes from, the dhatu much, to be free, to set free. Vid, to find. Sprish, to touch. Lik, to write, right? Vish, to enter. Srij, to create. So some of these might be familiar. Reason why these specific dhatus are shown, there's more sixth gana dhatus. There's more than this list, but the reason why these are shown is because they are very common in Vedanta, right? So you see these very commonly, right? So this is Sanskrit for Vedanta students. So that's why all of these are selected, but there's way more than these. Okay, so let's do some practice. Now you can open your workbook. Your workbook, this is page. This is page 23 in your workbook, if your pages are the same as mine. Ish, page 23 at the top of the page. So first thing we know is ish is the sixth gana dhatu. So we're going to put 6 and we're going to put, right? Ish, it says 6p here, right? To wish. So we're going to add that information. There's a question that says, what's 6u? We're going to talk about what u means in a little bit. Okay, right now let's just focus on this saying 6p. Ish is 6p, to wish. This is my dhatu. We're going to skip to this last here, and we're going to say anga. Angam, or anga, ish. Now if we go back to our chart, it becomes icha. So you might want to bookmark this page, right? Page 34. So you can flip backward. So it's icha. Make sure you leave that akara at the end. Don't put a virama. It's icha. Okay, so we're going to put, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so it fits on my page. Okay, so this is singular, dual, plural. What is singular, dual, plural? Ekavachanam, dvivachanam, and bahuvachanam. Pratama purushaha, madhyama purushaha, and uttama purusha. Okay. Now, we want to say icha, and we're going to add look at the top right, we're going to add our thing pratyas. So, ichha ti. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Okay, ichchati, ichchataha, ichchanti, ichchasi. Sorry for the handwriting again, but there's a small chakara and a big chakara. Alpa prana and mahaprana. Ichchata, ichchataha. Oh, sorry, wrong way around, right? So glad people are paying attention. Let's make that change. How do I make that change? Let's do this. Okay, can you tell me in the chat, what is that whole first line? Can you tell me in the chat, what is that whole first line that I'll put it on here? Okay, so I see some great answers so far. So I see Sarojaji, Pratimaji, Mukuji, Chitraji, all this is looking good. Okay, so ichchami, ichchami, ichchavaha, and ichchamaha. Okay, so ichchami, ichchavaha, ichchamaha. Okay, tell me in the chat if you want me to write it, but it looks like some people have already posted it, so I'm not going to write it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give us golden stars. That's what. We get 3 golden stars. Okay. Okay, cool. So this is basically what we're doing is 6 gana dhatus. It goes from, we noticed that we added akara when we go from dhatu to anga, and some of them we have to be a little bit more careful about and pay attention to. So for example, ich, ish becomes itcha. Vid becomes vinda. Okay, we're not going to do this next one because I think it's pretty straightforward, but this one is more straightforward. So let's just look at the top here, right? Dish, if we look at our chart, is, no, not this chart, this chart. Dish, we can see second line, dish becomes disha. So because it's 6th gana, we add that akara at the end, right? So that's what goes from dish to disha. So there's a question. Question is the virama same as halanta? Okay, so we've asked this question before, but just to remind us, this line at the bottom of dish is what we call a virama. So that line itself is what we call the virama, the stroke. Now, halanta means, anta means ending with hal. Hal means consonant. So it's a consonant ending word. So virama is the stroke, but halanta refers to the word ending with the consonant. So they're connected, but they're different. Hopefully that answers that. We're coming back to dish. Dish is, the anga is disha. Let me change back my color. Okay, disha. So if we're doing it together, ready? Let's say it together. Close your eyes. Dishati, dishataha, dishanti, dishasi, dishataha, dishatha, dishami, dishavaha, dishamaha. All right. Looking good. So reason I'm so happy is because if all those people who were in the first round of these classes, we struggled a lot the first time. But it looks like it's becoming a little bit easier. That's why we do things in repetition. Because the first time you're just trying to figure out, the second time you get practice. Now, this might be your first time, and it looks like you're getting it too. And if you're not, let me know, right? Okay. Now we need to move into our next category that we're going to learn about is P, A, and U. So if we remember what we talked about at the beginning, a dhatu is classified into 10 groups. And the second thing is that there's 3 types, P, A, and U, right? So there was a question about what is A and what is U. So now let's get into that. Okay. Now, a dhatu is added to a ting pratyaya. Now, these ting pratyas are 18 in number. So if you see that chart on my screen, at the bottom of the chart, there's 18 ting pratyas. Okay? Now, these 18 are divided into 2, what we call padas. If you look at the top, it says parasmay pada and atmane pada. So our 18 suffixes, or 18 verbal suffixes, ting pratyas, are divided into 2 groups of 9. Parasmay pada and atmane pada. So here, note that parasmay pada and atmane pada refer to the suffixes, okay, first. Now, okay. Now, let's say I have a dhatu. This is my puzzle piece, okay? I have a dhatu, and I wanted to add that dhatu to a type P suffix, a parasmay pada suffix. Okay, so remember, there's 2 groups of 18, 2 groups of 9 rather. And this group of 9, I want to add a dhatu to this group of 9. Okay? Now there's some dhatus which only can be puzzled pieced together to P-type suffixes. Okay? There's some dhatus which only take type P suffixes. That kind of dhatu is what we call parasmay padi dhatus. Okay, so when the dhatu can only be puzzle pieced together to the type P of suffix, then it's called what we call parasmay padi suffix. So start with parasmay padi dhatu. The suffix is parasmay pada, and the dhatu is parasmay padi, one who takes parasmay pada. Okay. So notice, right? Like if I have, let's add another puzzle piece here. I have this puzzle piece, it won't fit into this. right? I can't add, let's say this is here, let's do this. Let's say I have a type A. I have a type A. Now this type A can't fit into this dhatu, because that dhatu is parasmaipadi. It can only take type P suffix. Okay, thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, so for example, let's, for example, right, I have, bu dhatu. Okay, so bu is 1P. So notice it says P. That means this dhatu is parasmaipadi, meaning it can only take that first group of 9. Ti, taha, anti, si, tha, ta, mi, vaha, maha. Okay? Now, there's another type of dhatu and a suffix. Okay, now there's type A suffixes, right? Atmane pada suffixes. Atmane pada. So where is this in your book? This is in your book. If we go back to page 27. Okay, so this is explained on page 27 of your book, if you want to follow along. Otherwise, I'm making it more visual and more clear on the screen. So maybe that's, but this is page 27 of your book if you want to take notes. Okay. Parasmaipadi dhatus only fit with parasmaipada suffixes. Now, if you look at the screen, I have A, this is my suffix, this is my pratyaya, and it's type A. Now let's switch colors. Now I have my dhatu. And this dhatu is one that can only fit into type A suffix, right? It can't fit into this type of, this type of suffix. See, the piece won't fit. Now, this type of dhatu, which only fits with the A type suffix, is what we call Atmane Padi dhatus. Right? So this is, oh, it's a little bit different color, but it's okay. Atmane Pada. Suffixes, Atmane Padi dhatus are added to Atmane Pada type suffixes. Okay, so the example here given in the book is deep dhatu. So deep is added to, deep is 4A. Meaning we're going to add a yakara. So it's going to be deepya. And it only can be added to Atmane Pada type suffixes. Okay, don't get confused. Don't let me confuse you. It can only be added to Atmane Pada type suffixes. Okay, so parasmaipadi can only be so when it says P, it can only take type P suffixes. When it's A, it can only take Atmane Pada type suffixes. Now there's a tricky one that takes 2 types of suffixes. I spent time finding puzzle pieces. I swear I have other things to do, but I feel like this is helpful. Okay. Now this is what we call. So now let's say I have a type P suffix and I have a type A suffix. So I have Atmanepada suffix and I have Parasmaipada suffix. Okay? I have these two suffixes. Now there's some dhatus which can fit with both. Okay? This is what we call Ubhayapadi, type U dhatus. Okay, so this is the dhatu and it's called Ubhaya Padi dhatus. Or otherwise, shorthand is U. U. Okay, so Ubhayapadi dhatus can take both P and U, or type P and A suffixes. Ubhaya means both, right? Ubhaya is both, and Pada is P and A. Okay, let's see. All right, so we have two types of suffixes, P and A, Parasmaipada and Atmanepada. Some dhatus only take type P. They're called Parasmaipadi dhatus. So you'll see a P, like 1P, 2P, 3P, etc. And some only take Atmanepada type suffixes, so they're Atmanepadi. So you'll see 1A, 2A, 3A, etc. Then there's U, which can take both P suffixes and A suffixes. That's Ubhayapadi. Okay, all right. So for example, if you look at the screen, at the bottom of the screen, it says Rud Dhatu. Rud Dhatu is listed as 7U. This is the bottom of the paragraph on the screen. Rud Dhatu is 7U to obstruct. Okay, meaning it's seventh gana. It's the seventh gana and it takes both types of suffixes, P and A. Okay, this is all page 27. All right, we have 1 minute left. I just want to introduce what we'll move into next time. This is on page 37, page 37 of your book. It says this at the top, page 37. Okay. Now on this screen or on here, you'll see this chart. Now notice it says 1 and it says A, meaning that these are all Atmanepadi types of dhatus, and therefore they're only going to take Atmanepada type suffixes. They can't take ti taha anti, si taha ta, mi vaha maha. They can't take that. They're sick of that. They want A type. What is A type? We'll see in our next class. Okay, what are the A type suffixes? We'll see in our next class, and we'll get more practice with that. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. This could be confusing, so let me know if you have questions in the chat, and I'll be here with my screen off.